We're back in a familiar spot today. This is the area that I call the Pine Ridge. It's actually the same location that Greg Clements killed his buck out of last year. I've been hunting in here a lot over the years. I think Pat McSherry and I found this place back in 2012. And every year we've hung a stand up in here. I just didn't hunt it last year because I had some other big deer that I was chasing. So what I decided to do in this area was I ran a trail camera over this little trail behind me here. You can see this little tree in the corner of the screen. Right underneath that tree every year there's a scrape, and although there's no licking branch there, they still scrape underneath that tree and mark on the side of the tree. They don't rub it, but for whatever reason. This is a spot where several trails come together right on the top of this pine thicket. There's a buck bedding area over here to the north that falls off of this ridge. It's only about 80 yards away from us. And what I'm doing today is we're coming in and we're going to hang a trail camera over these trails. I've had one here every year for the last 3 seasons. And the interesting thing that I found was last year while I wasn't in here hunting, I left the camera run all season. I got pictures of multiple mature bucks. One of them is really big, and the other one is definitely mature, 4 or 5 years old at least. But he was on a pretty consistent pattern up here. He actually was coming out of this bedding area and going back in a lot in October, and I went back to wonderground.com and checked the wind direction on the days that he showed up on the camera, because every time he was on here was in daylight. So that told me that he was bedded pretty close. I went back and I checked the weather conditions, and every time I got pictures of him, he was coming by this camera with an easterly wind of some sort, either straight east, southeast, northeast. Those are rare winds, but every time we get one of those winds, he's bedded off of that point up there and he's walking by this trail camera. So I'm hoping that he made it through the season. I don't know. We had pictures of him clear through the end of the rut last year in November, so he could have very easily been shot in shotgun season. But this stand location has always been really good, and we've constantly seen big deer out of it straight north of the stand, which is where that buck bedding area is. So today what I'm doing, I'm hanging the trail camera over this same location, and I'm trying to pick out a new tree, because in past years I've hunted farther up the ridge and the wind tends to swirl back. Anything out of the east goes over the point of that ridge, hence the reason why he's probably bedding there. So what I'm doing is I'm coming down the ridge about 30 yards away, and I may hang in this pine tree that you can see over my shoulder, that little double trunk pine. Get up in it about 10-15 feet, and I think that's going to be a good spot. But we're not going to hang the stand today. I'm just picking the tree and basically prepping it, you know, figuring out which tree is going to work best for climbing. And then we'll come in here with stands on our back, bows, everything in mid-October, check that card, and if we've got daylight movement out of there, we'll climb up in that tree and hopefully kill a buck out of it. But like I said, we're going to be hunting this stand on a southeast wind, so we're going to be waiting for the perfect conditions. If we come in here and we got pictures of him, I think this will be a really good killing spot. But it's one of those where you got to be really stealthy and quiet. As you saw us coming up through here, we weren't making any noise on these pine needles, and that's why I like this so much, is because you can get right up against this buck's bedding area without him knowing that you're here. So it's an interesting spot. It's one we've hunted for a lot of years, but we're just now, I feel, getting a good grasp on how the deer move through here, and more specifically how the mature bucks use this area. So we'll see you back in here on the Pine Ridge this fall. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good spot.